afternoon, and welcome to today's Uplift with Vision. I'm Reverend Jeanne, and it is my delight to join you again to just spend a little bit of time with you. Today I thought we'd reflect on just the idea of connection, connected to each other, especially in this time of social distancing and masking and all of that. I think it's really important to remember we are connected, we are one. So that's what we'll be looking at, but let's begin in prayer. So just settling in and just recognizing the divine, the allness, the oneness that is this life, our life right here and now. It is the divine life of God, finding always, always greater expression of its truth, of its wholeness, of this oneness. And so we rest in the knowing that we are all absolutely connected, that there is nothing that stands in the way of this connection, of this oneness. For the all of the divine is right here, right now. And I give great thanks for this, knowing it is so, allowing it to be. So it is. So it is a time of divisiveness and sense of separation, right? And so what I've been doing is focusing more and more on the idea of oneness and of connection, connecting to each other. Because, you know, our connection to spirit and our connection to each other is one and the same. It truly is. For, as we always say, there is only one. We are one. Ernest Holmes put it this way: we are all parts of each other because the same God is in each one of us wearing a different face. The same God is in each one of us, just wearing a different face. I love how Mother Teresa puts it, God in all its distressing disguises. Sometimes it can be quite distressing, the disguises that we wear, right? But of course, it also reminds me of the joke of the Buddhist monk who walks into the pizza parlor and has a special order, make me one with everything. Okay, old joke, but the joke's on us, truly, because the fact is we are one with everything, truly. In religious science, in the science of mind, it's called the principle of oneness, that there is no separation, that it is all just illusion, and yet we forget. And we believe in that illusion. We believe we're separate. We're separate from other people, from the things around us, from the events in our life. And when we forget our oneness, our connection to everything, we move into fear. That's what we do. Why do we do that? I think it's because deep down we know that we cannot go through this life alone, all on our own. It's just too big. So if we are separate and we are alone, fear naturally arises. And instead of facing that fear and calling the illusion the lie that it is, we go into defense mode, right? Because that's our favorite strategy. We become controlling or depressed or angry or withdrawn. All of those multiple reactions that we do when we forget the truth that we are one. Because in truth, there's nothing to defend against. There isn't a need for defense. Right? Ernest Holmes says, we should not separate life from living, spirit from matter, nor divine principle from a universal creation. God is all in all. That is, God is and is in everything. God is all in all, is in everything. That's what we need to remember, right? So here's another way to remember our oneness. Imagine this ribbon represents the allness of God, right? The totality of the divine. The isness, shall we say, of spirit. All of the threads making up it are the qualities, the essence of the divine. This is the whole life of God. And now look at the knots on the ribbon. And imagine this, these are each of us. Let's give a name. So this is me, and this is you, and this is our friend, and this is our loved one, right? So look at the relationship between the ribbon and the knots, right? I mean, the knots are unique, they're different, and yet they're made up of the same thing, right? They are the ribbon. They are the allness, the isness of God, and we are simply a unique expression of that woven in. And now think of this, even when someone dies, so maybe the knot comes undone. So the form, that uniqueness maybe has changed, but the ribbon remains. You know, we are always connected. We are always in God, as God, right here, the divine expression. Right? And the good news is, even when we forget this, our soul remembers. Our soul remembers. And it's always calling us to that divine life of expression, of oneness, of connection. That's the natural innate drive within us. And there's another piece that connects us, which I want to talk about, and it's the heart-to-heart connection that I like to call compassionate presence. Compassionate presence. A great example of this comes from Leo Buscaglia. He once was asked to judge a contest to find the most caring child, and a little 4-year-old won. It turns out his neighbor was an elderly gentleman and had recently lost his wife. And one day the little boy saw his neighbor sitting on his porch crying. And so the little boy went over to him and climbed up on his lap and just sat with him. And he sat there for a long time. And then eventually he came home, and his mom, who had witnessed this, asked him, "What did you say to your neighbor?" And the little boy said to her, "Oh, nothing. I just helped him cry." Right? I just helped him cry. And that's what compassionate presence is. And if a 4-year-old boy knows this, we know how to do this too. I think that's really important to remember. You know, when I tell people I'm a hospice chaplain, I hear a very common response. First of all, it's like, "Oh my God, that must be so depressing. That must be so difficult." And, you know, when I describe that, well, but there's that sense of joy and honor that comes from sharing the sacred journey with people who are, you know, in life crisis or in challenges. And so then the next thing I hear them say is, "Oh, you're very special. I could never do that." But I'm here to tell you, we can. All of us can. This is what we do. It's called compassionate presence. Because we're all in compassionate connection. We can't help but do that. Now, granted, it's harder during this time of social distancing and masking and the difficulty of face-to-face communication, but that only makes it more important. It means it calls us to take the time to reach out, to phone call, to Zoom, to connect. It's ever so much more important. You know, compassionate presence is being able to walk alongside people who are in pain, right? Just being with them the way that they are, not trying to fix or solve anything. Remember, the little boy just being with the gentleman. That's what that is. And what it takes is just staying engaged and present with someone so that they can move through their feelings. They can move through their thoughts and do their own self-inquiry. Right? And the thing about compassionate presence and presence itself is it transcends space. It's expressed heart to heart. It opens the door for the divine to unfold in new and dynamic ways as well, because simply by being in a safe and loving space that compassionate presence provides, answers naturally arise. Understandings naturally are revealed. I mean, healing happens. It really works. Being that kind of compassionate presence for each other, you know, that really is our soul's call. It's the ribbon that connects us. Dr. Rachel Naomi Remen, she's a physician in Northern California, and she's been leading the charge to bring spirituality back into medicine. She defines compassionate presence as being of service to the wholeness of others. Being of service to the wholeness of others. Here's how she puts it. Serving makes us aware of our wholeness and its power. The wholeness in us serves the wholeness in others and the wholeness in life. The wholeness in you is the same as the wholeness in me. I mean, we talk about wholeness all the time in religious science. And to know that that is that connecting energy, that we are each part of that. You know, and from the perspective of service, you know, we all are connected. All suffering is like my suffering. All joy is like my joy. And, you know, it's important to realize we serve with all of ourselves, our hearts, our souls, and we serve from our life experiences, even the not so pretty ones. That is part of what we bring in compassionate presence. Our limitations serve. Our wounds serve. Even the darkness can serve. You know, my pain is the source of my compassion. My woundedness is the key to my empathy. It reminds me of the quote from Rumi, "Don't turn away, keep your gaze on the bandaged place. That's where the light enters you." Right? Our wounds are where the light enters, that connect us. That's what emerges. And service as compassionate presence heals. It heals. And it is the work of the soul. The Upanishads put it this way: the little space within the heart is as great as the vast universe. The little space within the heart is as vast is as great as the vast universe. So let's just go within to ground these ideas in your heart in prayer. So I just invite you to close your eyes and settle into that little space that is as vast as the universe. And just knowing this is the heart of love. This is the heart of love. So huge, bottomless, limitless. And so breathing into that warm and gentle space, let us recognize that we are the heart. We are the hands. We are the love. And we're here to do the good of God. God is the good that we do. And so today we give of the warmth and gentleness that we are. We use our voice to speak our truth. The love of God flows out of us and spreads out to touch other hearts. For it allows others to touch ours. It is that perfect connection, that ribbon of love. And so I am just so grateful for that and for this knowing, for all that I have, for all that we know and all that we are. We are so blessed by being a blessing. And so it is. And so we are. Amen. So I just invite you to keep your heart open, to remember your connection, to be part of that oneness, allow that oneness to express through you today and in the days to come. And don't forget to tune in to tomorrow for another uplift with vision. And again, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste.